So it's been a hot minute since I've actually done a preview, a thought dump, or even tips and tricks for a video game on my channel, on my long form content, no less. So you can imagine my surprise and my excitement when Bandai Namco actually reached out to me and asked me, "Hey, do you want to try out Towa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree? It's a roguelite, and so you have to understand that after that point, I didn't really hear much else because they had activated my trap card. Considering the weekend prior to this request, I was doing an 8 hour roguelite bundle stream. Um, yeah, I want to play your roguelite that has a cute, fluffy cat, animal, person, dog thing that I can play as. This was who thought that this was a good question to ask. But nonetheless, I got a chance to preview Toa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree before today's demo came out. And I wanted to take this time to share my general thoughts with everybody, along with some tips and tricks that can benefit even veterans of the genre as they get ready to embark on their journeys to save the town from impending doom. Hopefully you find it helpful. Or not. Either way the video is going to go. So my overall thoughts on Toa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree is as follows. I think it's good. I think it's great. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful kind of change up on the roguelite formula. I think that people are going to be initially a little bit intrigued and even kind of put offish at the fact that you can control two characters and that you have to swap between two different swords. But honestly, it kind of just amplified my experience much further. And I liked having a lot more control and visibility over what was happening in the field for me. Again, I have number of hours in roguelite. So I might be looking at this from a very veteran perspective. But one of the things that's nice about Toa is that it does give you a lot of training wheels, and there is a story mode available if you're just here for the story and you don't want all the extra nonsense. Um, I definitely think that it's going to be an interesting entry. I think it's going to shake up some of the formula, and that's something that I think many roguelite enjoyers are going to be welcoming to, which is great because there's a lot of roguelites out there. There's a lot of roguelites out there. And some of the mechanics as well that require you to sacrifice your Kagura, I can't remember the name of it. I think it's your Kagura that requires you to sacrifice your Kagura at the end really keeps the player on their toes because they can't rely on the same build every single time. I think that it's going to be a good time, and if you are open to exploration and experimentation, it's going to be great for you. Now to get into some of the beginner tips that I have for your demo of Toa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree. First and foremost, use the trainer that's at the very beginning of every journey to establish whether or not the build that you're running right now is the build that you want to do. You do not have to actually commit to your first to Tsurugi, oh god, words, I'm so sorry. Oh, the Tsurugi and the Kagura. If you find that it doesn't flow well, that's fine. Just don't go through the fog gate, turn around, go back to the camp, grab you some different characters. You never, ever, ever are going to be put in a spot where you're going to be required to play something dramatically off kilter, with the exception of, all the times you might have to fill your Kagura, and I can't help you at that point. But as long as you have access to the people, definitely take advantage of trying them out, seeing what works, seeing what flows well, and then figuring out what's the best play style for you. The second thing that I would like to tell everybody is make sure your focus is on surviving your first few runs. It's always easy, even at a veteran level of playing roguelites, to fall into the trap of wanting to do the big damage because numbers go burr. But the fact of the matter is, you don't know the attacks, you don't know how they're going to react, you don't know how they're going to respond. It may be a red circle on the ground, but you never know if that's going to be an AoE attack, if it's something that jets out the ground, if it's something that spreads, and many other things that it can actually do once the attack is actually enacted. So, if you find yourself needing to back off a little bit and get kind of reorganized, resituated, and thinking about how you want to approach the fight, that's fine. You're in no rush. You can always do better times and get better grades in later runs once you become more acclimated and you know what to expect. The third biggest tip that I would love to offer is explore your combos. Explore your combos. As I just mentioned at the first tip, where using the trainer is imperative to understanding what combos work well for you, another good thing for you to do is really just get into exploring them and seeing what flows well and what doesn't. You might find yourself using a whirlwind build that you never thought you would use just because dashing with whirlwinds is super fun. Or maybe you find that you like more of the faster, aggressive characters strictly because you like things like lifesteal or you enjoy having things proc every time you land a hit. There's so many combinations that are floating within the game proper that you would absolutely do yourself a disservice to not stick, to not try out everything that the game has to offer. And yeah, that means some of those builds that you're going to get are going to be downright atrocious. But that's part of the roguelite experience and discovering what does and doesn't work well. You never know. Maybe you'll find some combinations that are just absolutely broken. The fourth tip I'm going to give everyone is with the dual sword system, I always reduce it down sadly to the red sword and the blue sword, but your Hanzashi and your Wakizashi, swap those early, swap them often. There's no reason for you to wait until the sword physically breaks to say, okay, now it's time to swap my sword. You can literally swap in the middle of a combo and go over to Wakizashi damage, which is going to be more of your bursting or charge damage, which means you'll get more of those big numbers. And then you can swap out after you've done a couple of bursts or your main charge and go back to your main weapon, which is going to be your primary driver for combos. Again, Hanzashi, that's your red sword that does combos. Your Wakizashi, that's your blue sword, that'll either give you your burst attacks or your charge attacks. Learn to dance between the two of them before the sword breaks so you can output maximum damage at all times. And remember, your Kagura is there to help support your leading melee character. So get them spells that complement that playstyle. Again, combinations are key here. Explore them to your utmost extents. Now, I'm going to hold your hand with a piece of tissue paper when I say this next one. I know it's going to be kind of hard to not just use your fatal attacks because what if you need it to get out of a pinch? Or what if you need it for the boss? Counterpoint, you need it for both of those, and also they are there to do damage. Use them. Burn those fatal attacks, or if you want to just refer to them as super moves, absolutely do that. Burn them, burn them, burn them. They are doing nothing of value, just sitting there in reserve, waiting for you to use them. Take advantage of them. Use them as often as you can, because it will get you out of a pinch. It will do big damage, and honestly, a lot of them just look cool. And you can utilize those to interrupt attacks, to go ahead and give yourself openings, or to just wipe out multiple enemies at once. The next tip that I have to offer is going to be a little bit more controversial, because when you go to healing biomes, those are going to be the biomes that are red with hearts. I highly encourage that you run around and you break all the pots first to see if there's any healing beans in there before you go to the tree and take the free heal. Because if you have a lucky draw, or you have graces, which are going to be kind of like the cards that build out your character in your kit that give you a higher chance for beans in the pots, that means instead of using the tree to burn your free heal, you can actually get heals from those pots first and then decide with more agency, do you want more healing or do you want to increase your max health? Going for the pots in those is always going to be the better play because you at least go in better prepared to utilize things as needed. If you hit the back button on your controller, the seventh tip that I'll offer you is to take advantage of tracking your progress and looking at your build. Every primary thing that you have in your kit, your Wakizashi, your red sword, that the name I can't ever say correctly because I'm terrible, but even your dash, your Kagura specifically, when you take damage, when you quick draw, because remember, that is an attack too, all of those can be altered to make your ability on the field better, and you'll be able to get supplemental graces to make those go even further. But in case you're not remembering where you left off on things, you can always go to the menus and just take a gander to see where you need graces to fill in the rest of your build. Another thing that I want to call out here is in the upper right, it'll track how far you are in your current journey. This way you can have a good idea about, hey, if you're at 5 out of 8 and your health isn't looking that great, maybe you need to play a little bit more defensively. Or maybe you're at 6 out of 8, you're doing great, you have wonderful health, and you're just burning through enemies, now you can have an idea of thinking about, well, what do I want to do next to make my build even better? Knowing about how far along you are will also keep you from being surprised that the next gate that you walk through is going to be the boss gate, because you're prepared, you're ready, and you know that you're at the end of your journey, so it's time to go in and show the boss what's what. If you're new to the roguelite genre, I want to emphasize heavily that this is an excellent entry to jump in with, because it does a lot with making sure you have access to your information at all times. Even when you go to check your next biome gates, you can do a single press of a button to get all the information you need about what each gate does. And on top of that, with every journey that you go to, as long as you haven't changed your settings in any way, shape, or form, it'll always give you a friendly review of what is in your kit at any given time. That said, don't get too comfortable, you're going to die. And the sooner you come to terms with that, the easier things will be as you progress through. You're gonna die. You're gonna die a lot. I mean, yeah, when you even clear one, technically you perma die, but you're gonna die. It's just part of the song and dance. Which leads me to my last point, since I just mentioned it previously. Make sure you maximize your time in the actual town. Take your moments to go around, talk to people, see if there's anything new that's popped up that it hasn't guided you to directly, and get to know the people in the town that you're actively trying to save. That would be kind of ideal, right? Is maybe you should know who you're saving. But more importantly, take your time looking around at how you can change up your character builds at the dojo, and also take the time to go in and make yourself a sword and a blacksmith. As it was said during the playtest with some of my fellow peers, don't worry about your sword being bad the first time. The first sword is kind of like that first pancake. It's always kind of a little bit of a mess. But nonetheless, you can go in and you can make swords that better cater to your playstyle. If you want more durability, you can aim for that. If you want an overpowered sword, you can aim for that. But the point being, spend as much time as you need to go into town, because the next journey is always going to be ready and waiting for you. With all the tips that I could offer you out of the way after my time playtesting Towa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree, I really hope you have a good time with it. I had a great time with it. Again, it's going to be something that if you're brand new to the genre, there's difficulty options for you to be able to jump in and just kind of learn everything. It does a great job of making sure that you have access to all your information at your fingertips at all times throughout all of your journeys. But more importantly, I think it's going to be a really interesting shakeup for the genre that is roguelites, because it's really challenging to go into a roguelite mindset and say, you know what? I think that we should do this and it'll make things interesting. And I think this is going to be a good time, especially considering it's $30 MSRP and it's going to be on all platforms. It has co-op support both local and online, and it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a great time. I'm really fascinated at the two-player part, like more than anything. So I hope some of you enjoy it, and maybe we'll play some games in the future. But until then, this has been PT. I hope you enjoyed this review of sorts. It's like a diet review, and that you really enjoyed my tips. Let me know if they help you out, and I'll see you around.